Howdy, folks. I'm Vicky, the vivacious vervet.
I'm Amber.
And here's some Reddit. Alright, folks, our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my boyfriend that his toys are alive? I'm a 26-year-old female, and I've been seeing my boyfriend Carl, a 29-year-old male, for 2 years. And we recently decided to move in together. Now, Carl has a shelf of his childhood toys that he always seemed weirdly attached to. When he'd leave my place after staying over for a few nights, he would say that he better get home before his toys started to miss him too much. Honestly, that probably should have been a red flag, but I just thought it was a silly joke. I tell him to say hi to the other toys for me, and that always made him smile. When he told his parents that we were moving in together, they first tried to talk him out of it, but when they realized he was serious, they backed down. But then I got a text from his mom saying that she had something important that she needed to tell me before her son moved in with me. Well, I met up with Carl's parents this morning. They were very clearly embarrassed. That's when they told me that Carl believes that his toys are alive. I guess after he saw Toy Story as a kid, his parents thought it would be fun to move his toys around as though they were playing when Carl wasn't watching. Carl has always been a heavy sleeper, and so they would sneak in every few nights and move some of his toys around. Carl was so excited and would always tell his parents the next day about what his toys were up to. So they just kept doing it for years. And I guess they just didn't want to ruin his fun. The reason why I've never heard about this before is Carl's parents told him that the toys could be confiscated by CAT, the Central Agency of Animate Toys, if anyone else knew they were alive. I guess they're supposed to be a government agency that confiscates living toys and keeps them locked away so the public doesn't know that they exist. And so aside from his comments about the toys missing him, he never said anything to me about his toys being alive. His parents told me that they wanted me to continue this tradition. That's right. They wanted me to move the toys around of a grown man so he could keep believing that they were alive. His mom suggested that I look up Elf on the Shelf ideas, so I could keep things fresh for him and he wouldn't get suspicious. Y'all, I just couldn't. I didn't even think he really thought that his toys were alive. I thought he probably was just playing along, because what 29-year-old man actually believes his toys are alive? So I sat him down and I started asking him about the toys, and pretty soon it became clear that nope, he legitimately believed that they were alive. So I decided that it was time he learned the truth. So I told him that the toys weren't alive, it was just his parents moving them around. He kept insisting that I was wrong and then started bawling. He called his mom and she assured him that the toys were alive and that I was just lying. He left to go to his parents' house and I got a whole bunch of angry texts from his mom telling me how horrible I was for trying to spoil toys for him. I asked my best friend, assuming that she would be on my side, but she said that it was harmless fun and that I had ruined it for no reason. But I really don't want to be on the hook to find creative ways to move my boyfriend's toys around for the rest of life. But he really is a great person and a great boyfriend, and I feel like maybe it's not too much to ask to make him happy. I don't know, Reddit, am I the jerk? Update. His parents are now trying to convince him that I'm a secret cat agent and that he should dump me. So far, it sounds like he doesn't believe them, but I'm getting worried. I really love him, and I want to spend the rest of my life with him. Help. Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
No, I don't think Opie's being a jerk here. I mean, this is a big ask from his parents. You know, like, it's fine if they wanted to do this, but to then be like, okay, you have to do this for the rest of your life, like,
yeah,
that's a...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little strange of a situation, and the trouble here is that the parents want OP to basically continue to, well, one, lie to him, right? Mm-hmm. And if he ever found out that she knew the truth, then, I mean, what's going to happen to the relationship? That's going to be something that's really problematic there.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, it's not OP's responsibility to, well, it wasn't OP's responsibility to have to tell him this to begin with,
mm-hmm.
right? It's not his fault that he doesn't know that the toys aren't alive, but it's really deceptive of the parents to continue this tradition. It's going to create embarrassment for him in the future. If not OP, then a future girlfriend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are they expecting all of the future partners to play along?
I guess so. That's what it seems like.
Well, and also, what happens when they have kids?
Well, that's a good question because yeah, then like does his partner have to like pretend for the kids too, and then raise a generation of kids who believe that toys are alive, and they'd probably figure out eventually. Like most people figure out that these kind of things aren't real eventually.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't think that OP is the jerk in this situation, and I just feel bad for them because it seems like there's a lot of there's going to be a lot of trust and trauma issues on the boyfriend's part once this is kind of all worked out. So he may end up needing like counseling or something like that in the future because like this is just not a good situation.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, take care and good luck, OP. And Mama Bear 1820 says, "Girl, so much not the jerk. I do Elf on the Shelf for my kids, 3 and 5, and I'm so over it already. If they haven't figured out that it's not real by the time the oldest is 10, you better believe I'm telling them. I can't imagine doing this for a grown man." And OP replies, "That's the other thing that's really bothering me. What about when we have kids? Do I have to do this for them too? I'd have to tell them the truth eventually, because I'm not going to expect their roommates or significant others to keep doing this for them. But it would be worse for Carl to find out now or 30 years down the line." And Mama Bear replies, "Honestly, if he can't handle the fact that his toys aren't real, he's probably not ready for kids." Well, hopefully they're not planning on having kids anytime soon anyways.
Yeah.
And the strangest cuttlefish 77 says, "You're the jerk. Was it really that much to ask? Relationships are about sacrifice. I bet there are things that he does for you that he really doesn't like, and there are so few joys in life when you get to be an adult. You just took it and spoiled it all because you're too selfish to go out of your way for him." And OP replies, "That's fair. We both do things for each other that we don't necessarily like. I'm fine with watching an action movie with him even though they're not really my thing, or getting anchovies on our pizza and just picking them off. I just felt like it was such a big time commitment and like it would take a lot of mental energy to try and figure out how I could move the toys and keep it interesting. But you're probably right. Maybe I should just do it." And the omnibus of busy buses says, "You let him put anchovies on your pizza? This guy better be great in the sack. Just saying." Alright folks, our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for telling my boyfriend to stop digging holes in the basement?" My boyfriend and I have been renting an old Victorian house for about a year. It's a pretty sweet deal, and the rent for the whole house is less than a lot of apartments in this area. The owner has a pretty extensive list of rules that we have to follow though, and one of those is that we can't make any modifications. Recently, my boyfriend read somewhere online that any house over 100 years old is almost guaranteed to have skeletons in its basement. I have no idea whoever wrote the thing, where they came up with that idea, but it's obviously not true. The problem is that my boyfriend 100% believes it. The night after he read the article, he started freaking out at bedtime, saying that he couldn't sleep in a house knowing that there were people buried under it. He started saying every weird noise in the house was the ghost or whoever was buried under the house, and that they probably wouldn't be able to rest until they had a proper burial. I foolishly told him to look up the history of the house, thinking that maybe if he saw that it was an ordinary house with no creepy history, that would stop him. Turns out there was a gruesome murder here in the 1850s. What's worse is that the police recovered 5 bodies, but there were 2 other people living in the house at the time who went missing. So now my boyfriend is convinced that those bodies were the other 2 who weren't discovered because they were buried in the basement. He found out all of that yesterday, and he went to spend the night with a friend. Today, when I came home from work, I heard noises coming from the basement. I go downstairs to see him and his buddies digging a massive hole in the basement. The basement has a wood floor, and they actually pulled up a bunch of the boards so they could dig their hole. I started yelling at them to stop and fill back in the hole because this was definitely violating our lease. I don't care how many people were murdered here. I can't afford to rent a house this size otherwise, and I don't want to be kicked out. My boyfriend shouted back that the murder victims just needed justice, and that's more important than our lease. My boyfriend's friends decided that they didn't want to be in the middle of it, and they left. My boyfriend and I fought for a few more minutes, and then he went after them, leaving me with the hole to deal with. He says that he's going to go be staying with his friends until I let him dig up the bodies so they can be laid to rest. I just finished filling in the hole that he created, and now I have to try to figure out how to put the floorboards back. But I'm starting to feel really kind of guilty about how I acted. It may have been a terrible idea to start digging up the floor, but he's doing it because he thinks it's the right thing to do. And since he already had a good portion of the floor dug up, would it have hurt that much more to let him keep going? So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
I don't think Opie's a jerk here, but this definitely sounds like the start of a horror movie.
Well, I mean, I don't think that OP's in the wrong, but OP's boyfriend needs to be able to figure out the difference between reality and fiction, right? And while there were a couple of people who were allegedly missing here, there's no proof that they were actually in the basement.
Right, well, and you'd assume that the police at the time would have investigated, and if it had a wood floor, they would have noticed if all the boards had been torn up.
I mean, I think that that's a fair point, right? The fact of the matter is that there's a lot more here going on, and if they put the wood floor down, if the wood floor was down at that point in time, then that would have required a lot of effort to pull up at that point in time as well. So I just don't think that. I think that this was a situation that OP's boyfriend, he let his imagination get the better of him. And if he really felt like there was a problem here or had some kind of evidence that there were, bodies in the basement, then I think that should have been something that he would have should have gone to the owner of the house about, or even the police, right?
Yeah, but they're not going to investigate just because there's 2 missing people from the 1800s.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a weird theory. Like, why would they bury 2 bodies and leave the other 5? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I think that it's just a matter of, who knows, people went missing a lot in those times, and there's just really no record that you can kind of track people with, right? I mean, it just happens, right? So anyhow, take care and good luck, OP. And I want to believe 4278 says, there were multiple murders in your home and 2 bodies that have never been found. There's like a 99% chance that your house is haunted. Get out while you still can. And OP replies, it's funny you say that. Now that I'm not filling in the hole anymore, I keep hearing these weird noises like footsteps, except it's just me. Now I don't know what to do. And I want to believe 4278 says run. And OP replies, okay, I'm kind of freaking out here because I swear that I hear this whispering noise coming from where my boyfriend dug the hole. I was trying to get the floorboards back into place, and then I thought I heard something. Catastrat says, you get out of there. That's what you do. Maybe call a priest while you're at it. And the Devil's Lawyer 666 says, you dig down and you see what's making the noise. And OP replies, okay, I'll do that. I'll update if I live to tell the tale. So they're probably just joking there since they are laughing about that.
Yeah, but I also want an update from OP so I know they're alive still.
All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some coffee right here, and Amber's got a joke.
Knock, knock.
Who is there?
Noah.
Noah from the Bible?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Noah.
No one's at the door.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Noah.
Noah who?
Noah, buddy. April Fools.
As you folks can see, today is the 1st of April. That means that it is April Fool's Day, so hopefully you weren't too distressed by those 2 stories. They were, of course, crafted and engineered by Amber and I. Amber did the bulk of the work, though, so...
Yeah, I did most of the text, but Brian made all the pretty graphics, so that's why it looks like an actual Reddit post.
Yeah, well, and I mean, we came up with the ideas of
Yeah, Brian had the ideas. I just wrote them out.
Yeah. So, they're a collaboration effort, so... And I, of course, have coffee right here. It's Saturday morning, as you know, and a very silly Saturday morning. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for watching. As you can see, we've updated the next live stream thing. The time zones were updated, so if you missed the live stream last month because the time zones were different, then sorry about that. The time, hopefully that's our last time shifting. All right, Amber, what's the moral of the story today?
Not live in a house where a bunch of people were murdered because it probably is haunted.
Yeah. My moral is April Fools. I hope you are all having a great and fun day, and hopefully it's not too many tricks for you. So, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.